Well, I'm gonna go build my own board game with base lore and no women. In fact, forget the board game.
Yeah.
You know, overall, I'd say it was a pretty good birthday. Alex gifted me a copy of Pizza Tower, Delta gifted me the Elden Ring DLC, iLobo gifted me Returnal, this girl I'm seeing gifted me nudes. I couldn't have asked for a better birthday and a better audience like you beautiful people. But the best gift of them all was so good, I just had to make a video on it. Because you know how I am. I like to capitalize on things. I am a filthy, dirty capitalist. Because you see, the greatest gift I could have been given actually happened. That's right. The entity that we've been talking about for months, and others have been talking about for years. The ones responsible behind the infamous ESG scores that have ruined a lot of products and led to a significant drop in quality within the games industry and other media. BlackRock is officially losing money, and they are not happy about it. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink suffered a meltdown during an earnings call over the company losing billions of dollars in contracts due to the international asset manager's woke environmental, social, and governance ESG score agenda. During the call, Fink lost his cool as he complained about lies and misinformation regarding BlackRock's agenda. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink lashed out at political critics of the world's largest money manager in combative new comments Friday, saying they continuously lie. The remarks came as his firm continues to face heat from hot-button political fights across the country. We have done a better job now of telling our story so that people can make decisions based on facts and not lies and not misinformation or politicization by others, Fink said during a first quarter earnings call. Unfortunately, there's still others out there who continuously lie about these issues. Fink didn't name any US politicians directly, but the comments appear to be an unmistakable reference to continued attacks from politicians on the Republican side of the aisle, both in Washington and in conservative states like Texas. Republicans have continued to try and make Fink and his firm into the preeminent example of what they charge is woke investing as the 2024 election season continues to heat up. Fink also says the attacks aren't working, pointing to an increase in U.S. investments in his company. He says there has been $1.9 trillion in total net inflows from U.S. investors into BlackRock over the last 5 years, and nearly $300 billion in new U.S. investor money that appeared on the company's books just in the last year. I do believe that with the vast majority of our clients, our long-term fiduciary approach and performance are resonating, says Fink. The new comments came as the world's largest asset manager reported overall results that included new record levels of assets under management, with the company now managing $10.5 trillion in investor money around the world. The company's stock opened down as trading began Friday, falling more than 1%. BlackRock's stock is also down for 2024 as a whole, while the S&P 500 has risen around 8% in recent months, according to Yahoo Finance data. Oh, thank you. This is all I ever wanted for my birthday. To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women. Or whatever BlackRock considers women.
This isn't funny!
Oh, this brings me great joy. It gives me hope to know that it's not just a bunch of gamers on the internet who take a problem with this entity, but more specifically, a problem with this crooked businessman known as Larry Fink, who openly admitted several years ago that his company would be quote-unquote forcing behaviors.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
Paying out a higher percentage to companies that adhere to the DEI narrative. Essentially what that means for you simple-minded folks is woke. They're bad. They are woke company. Woke bad. If you want to know what the source of a lot of the forced diversity is coming from, well, it's basically this man who is trying to get all other companies to toe his line on issues. And that is why I'm glad to see that the Republicans have no problem calling out this man and his company and exposing the forced narratives that they've been towing for years. Others are catching on to what this ultra-wealthy company is capable of. And they aren't polite about calling it out either, and that is just ultra-based. How can you hate that? A company like BlackRock should absolutely be kept in check, and they don't need misinformation for that. Larry Fink is just being a giant crybaby because he wants to force his way onto other companies with minimal resistance, which is easily a step way above his fiduciary duties. The man is basically blackmailing companies with investors' money and withholding billions from those who do not toe the line. Republicans actually have a case here that they can crack. And it's all because, well, Larry Fink spilled the beans himself years ago with his own words. We should be eternally grateful any political party took notice of this man's corruption, because it only validates our concerns. So it should bring you great pleasure to see Larry Fink distressed, to see the Texas Permanent School Fund pull $8.5 billion.
I've spoken before about the fear we see today. Some of it stoked by increasingly political polarization in the world. Our industry and BlackRock have been a subject of political dialogue, mostly in the United States. We recognize some of this with being the industry leader. We have done a better job now of telling our story so that people can make decisions based on facts, not on lies and not on misinformation or politicization by others. Unfortunately, there's still others out there who put short-term politics, who continuously lie about these issues. They're putting those issues above the long-term fiduciary responsibilities. As a fiduciary, politics should never outweigh performance. I do believe that with a vast majority of our clients, our long-term fiduciary approach and performance are resonating.
Yeah, no, you are going far beyond your assigned duties, good sir. Why'd I say good sir? There's probably a few bodies with your name on it. Who knows? With that kind of power, you don't mess with people like Larry Fink.
Elon is vocal. Elon can stand up. Elon's not the guy that can be bullied. But some of these other guys that don't have 150 million followers and they don't own a company called Twitter, they may be billionaires. They may be $50 million guys, CEOs. But they got to sit there and say, babe, if you say something, you're going to lose your $26 million your salary. Just do what Larry tells you to do. Imagine if you had control of 88% of CEOs of S&P 500 companies. What kind of influence do you have? So to me, as a person, when I asked you earlier, what are your top 5 things you would want somebody to run on? I think somebody's got to figure out a way to break those companies apart.
Do you think that's possible? Do you think they would ever allow that to happen?
I do think it's possible, but I also think it's possible that that person who does it is risking a lot of things.
The man will throw his weight around and his wallet and not think twice about it. If he wants to sit there and be a hypocritical douche, he can because he's able to afford it. Sitting there telling us politics shouldn't be at the forefront of anything. And yet, DEI and ESG scores were at the forefront of BlackRock's investments, which negatively impacted a lot of products you and I enjoy. This man needs to be held accountable for what he's done, because he directly put politics before profit. There's nothing fiduciary about that. Nothing. I was enjoying every single pause Larry Fink took during that call. Why? Well, because I knew the man was on the verge of choking up, trying to sell how sorry he is and how hard it is for the company because political opponents spread misinformation and it has nothing to do with our company focusing on the wrong investments. This growing disdain for your company is only going to get worse because there is a strong rejection towards the idea of handing out more investments and loans to people who obey you and your political views. There is no money to be made in such a dystopian nightmare. No one in their right mind should ever believe for a single split second that it's a good idea to invest in an overtly politically biased company with over $10 trillion in assets. You're basically handing them power each time you say yes. And yet, unfortunately, that didn't stop Warhammer from following this trend of helping BlackRock to become a far more rich company with more power and control. At Warhammer, why did you make female custodes?
Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians.
So that was a fucking lie.
Okay, Games Workshop, did you really think you could pull that off on a fandom that's been loyal for 30 plus years? You really thought you would get away with that one? You really thought that simple explanation was going to fly past an audience that's even more obsessed than its own creators? I don't know a goddamn thing about Warhammer 40k other than some basic lore. And even I know there are no female custodes. It's a sudden change that just happened overnight. Why? Well, you know why. Because of
The message.
DEI, ESG, you name it. Just like that, they magically changed Warhammer's lore overnight. All of a sudden, there's always been female custodes, even though we've lacked the writing to prove it for 30 plus years. Oh, would you look at that? What a coincidence. BlackRock owns 6% of the shares of this company, and Vanguard Group owns about 5%. What? No! No, it couldn't be. Wokehammer, as they call it now. It just, wow. Insane. Absolutely insane. All these companies know these changes to the video games and established franchises that nerds, specifically male nerds, really like, is not the best move to make, and yet they make it. Why? You know why! The rules are eventually bent, and the entire game's lore changed forever, on a whim, because of that goddamn BlackRock, and you know it. Just as Gundam suggested on Twitter, just in time for the Amazon show. Coincidence? I think not. And this is why gatekeeping should never be frowned upon. It's vital to ensuring your hobbies stay the way they are. People like when things stay the way they are. People like it when lore is respected and not retconned just so you can turn over a profit on 100 brand new female players. Congratulations. Obvious pandering is obvious pandering, and you're not doing a very good job of being subtle about it. And the best part is, nobody in the Warhammer community is happy about it. You can't just directly lie to an entire fandom like that. You will lose support. But you know what? I'm looking forward to it happening. I really am. BlackRock is already sweating, as we saw, with Larry Fink choking up during that call. If yet more losses come from their investments, this is only a good thing. Warhammer respected its lore, not because the creators actually respected it themselves, but because there was no choice. Now, with a little bit of that ESG funding, Games Workshop's feeling a little brave, and they're gonna include women in the game and completely undermine the entire lore. And you know what? As a fan of other video games, other intellectual properties, I know that feeling. Retconning vital lore to pander is aggravating, because we all know what it means. It usually spells doom for a franchise. It's usually the beginning of the end. And before you ask, yes, it is the usual suspects who come out to defend this. People with trans flags and LGBT flags in their username. And that's not me just being bigoted. It's just an obvious observation that any single person out there would be able to make. The only people that defend it is the woke crowd, who definitely never supported Warhammer because of what it represented.
The Warhammer community, where you create armies of dolls based on fanfic lore and then paint them by following makeup tutorials, is a very conceptually funny place to exclude women from.
Oh, you got him good. Good job, simp. All those women who will never play the game are so proud proud of you sticking up for them. You show them. Yes, of course, just trashing the franchise is the perfect way to go about it. And yes, of course, pronouns in the bio. All the time, all the fucking time. Every single time. Women are not excluded from playing Warhammer, okay? The only thing excluded in Warhammer is women being custodians. That is it. If fictional women being excluded for lore reasons is a problem for you, you shouldn't have had it written like that in the first place. It's a sign that you don't care about your own established franchise and are willing to twist it into whatever panders with the current message of the time. And that is absolutely ridiculous. But whatever, congratulations. Collect that ESG check. On social media, you're gonna have people defending it. All the Warhammer channels are gonna accept it because if they don't, they're gonna be forced to talk about something else and their channels will die. But hey, on the bright side, Warhammer is now for quote-unquote modern audiences. Just as I was about to get into it. It's a hard pass for me. I know what this means. This means it's basically the end. If you're a Warhammer fan, tell me what you think down below in the comment section. Don't be shy. Be as offensive as you want here. That being said, like, comment, share, and subscribe if you so choose to. I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Afrikango sucks ass.